Usually I would say by show of hands, or maybe you could say by show of likes, or maybe you're sitting in a room full of people and you just feel like you need to answer this question. How many episodes have you dropped this year? Is it 10? Is it 20? Maybe it's more. How many clients did your episodes bring in? Now, here's where I need you to be honest, because here's the truth. Nobody in the podcast space wants to say out loud. Posting episodes without a strategy isn't content marketing. It's your digital journal. And journals, like downloads, they ain't paying the bills. So you've been told that just out of curiosity, you've been told just be consistent. Out of curiosity, you've been told just add value. And the most annoying one is just show up. Now you've done all of that. You put in the work, you recorded, you edited, you posted, and then you sat around and you waited. You waited like the people sitting on the dock of the bay. You waited like the people in that one, and I want you to picture this, that one photo of everybody sitting on that steel ledge eating lunch. You waiting for lunch to be over. You did all of this waiting, and guess what? You still got those crickets. You still got those nothing is heard sound. Here's what they won't tell you. I say that again. Curiosity without conversion is just expensive noise. So we got to do it today, man. It's not going to change today. Today, we're not talking about how to get more downloads. Today, we are talking about how to build a podcast funnel that turns every single episode that you drop into a real business opportunity. That's leads, that's conversions, that's clients, that's leads, conversations, clients, and revenue. Stick around with your boy. All right. Hang in there with me and let's get this thing cracking.
Welcome to Podcast for Profit, the show where podcasters become CEOs. I'm your host, Tony Porter, and every week I'm giving you the strategy, systems, and game you need to grow your audience, monetize your message, and build a seven-figure podcast business. No fluff, no cap, just real results. Let's get into it.
Hey, yo, what up, everyone? Welcome back to Podcast for Profits, the show where we stop trading time for likes and start turning conversations into real currency. I'm your host, Mr. Tony Porter, your podcast monetization strategist. And of course, I am that business coach. I am him. Today, we're diving into building a podcast funnel that converts every episode and turns all of this into opportunities, specifically for you coaches, you consultants, and you service providers who are done posting into the void. That posted into the void can get old, and I'm quite sure a lot of y'all have gotten old. Now, let me say this. I recently joined a podcast group on Facebook, and it's been very interesting. I've listened to a lot of podcasts. That's what I like to do. I like to dive in and see what these episodes are about. And most of them are in some great niches. There's a few that I haven't touched on yet. And then there's a few individuals who are about to launch. So I'm excited that I'm in this group, Podcasters for Facebook. I'm super excited to be in this group because it gives me a chance to look and see what others are doing. Now, before we start, let's be real about something. If you're a coach, a consultant, or a service provider, all right, who's tired of posting in that void and ready to start generating real clients, the real revenue, will pay attention. Get you a pen and let's do something, because the strategies we'll break it down today aren't theories. And I've told you this time and time again. They are the exact frameworks I use to help my peoples, my clients, my friends turn their podcasts into simple seven-figure businesses. Now, here's what we're going to cover. Position number one, why posting without a funnel is killing your business growth, even when your content is fire. And trust me, listen, I thought when I joined this group, it was going to be something different. And the reason I'm talking about this group, because it's very important that you understand. You have to be able to network with the people in your positions, your niche, in order for you to be successful. They might have something that they do that can help you, and you might have something that you can do that can help them. But if you're not networking, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what your podcast is about. All right. But if you don't have the strategies, the growth, the business growth, the funnels, again, your content can be fire and you ain't doing jack with it. All right. Now, number two, we're going to get into the anatomy of a high converting podcast funnel and exactly how it works. Of course, we're going to talk about number three, how to engineer every episode so it moves listeners from curious to committed. And that's what we're trying to do. Number four, we got to talk about that one CTA structure that creates momentum without feeling salesy. A lot of people don't want to sell them because they don't want to feel salesy. A lot of people out here waiting on sponsorships when you might have something that somebody wants, and guess what? There it is. Monetize that. And then how to build your entire funnel system starting today, even when you're starting from zero. That's a lot to cover. But guess what? We can do it. We just got to get into it. So if you're ready to get into it, man, let's rock out. Let's get into it. All right. So let's talk about pillar number one. Pillar number one says, why posting without a funnel is costing you tons and tons of money. And you might know a lot, but it's costing you more than you think you know. All right. So if you've been showing up consistently and you've been putting in that quality content, you've been producing, you've been dropping it, man, like put in the work and you put out the quality and you still are not converting your listeners into clients. Hear me out. It's not the content that's broken. It's the system around you. Or actually, there is no system. All right. So let's start there. There's just no system. None whatsoever. Okay. Now, when I first got into this game, I was recording in the car, parked outside of the apartment building, downtown Louisville, chilling. I had the beats in, I had the earbuds in, the ones that you plug in to your phone. And I'm telling you, I had the vision. I had the vision of me being the top podcast in my city, but I had zero strategy. I started dropping episodes every single week and thought consistency was the whole game because that's what I was told. Show up, add value, trust the process, and, like the field of dreams, you build it, they gonna come. It didn't happen. I got frustrated, wanted to walk away from it. And, what I got? Complaints. Man, I was complaining more and more each day. But my friends was like, bro, that was dope. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, I listened to it. And the people who was listening was not podcasters. They was just my homeboys, my friends, people I grew up with. But they was telling me, man, your content's fire. And when I started hearing it, I was like, okay, don't quit. But the problem is I was betting on me, but nobody else was betting on me. So nobody was paying me. I didn't know nothing about sponsorships. I didn't know nothing about monetization or nothing like that. I was doing it for fun. But then it hit me. My podcast was a free show. People were consuming it like it was Netflix. They was looking for the entertainment, the education, maybe some inspiration. But there was no bridge from episode to the next step. There was no door for them to walk through. See, I was just handing out gold with no address. I was handing out the golden tickets like Wonka, but you wasn't coming into the factory. Okay. So the moment I started doubling down and started looking at my ecosystem, I said, maybe I should add a funnel. Now I started this funnel thing dealing with Russell Brunson. I said, okay, let me add a funnel. And the moment I took it, added that funnel, a clear path from listeners to lead to the client, everything changed. Within 90 days, I had my first five-figure month. And I was happy with that. I was so stoked to have that. And I rested on my morals about it. And I had to think real hard. If I could get to a point where I'm teaching people, and once I start teaching, they now I got to double down and I got to reach this. So what I've done is I've started thinking outside the box. And once I started thinking outside the box, I was like, oh, this is so prevalent to me having my episodes out there that I need to make sure that when I'm doing this, every episode is structured to the way that I want it. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Content without a funnel is pure charity work. Your podcast is not the product. Your podcast is the marketing for the product. It's the commercial for your coaching program, your services, your offer. If your episode ends and there's no next step, you didn't create a business asset. You created some entertainment. And there's nothing wrong with entertainment, but if you're planning on growing, the funnel is what converts the attention to action. And by the way, inside the free school community, the Podcasters Academy, we're finishing out that training. And we're going to talk about podcast funnels. We're going to talk about this, but we want to get you in there. We want you to understand that the free training is there. It's free. All right. We got some tools that we're adding, but it's free. So come and get some. All right. Come on in there. Knock on that door. Come on in. Just come on in. I'll let you in. All right. Now, here's the real question. What does a high converting podcast funnel actually look like? Because if you've ever seen or if you've ever been shown a full picture, you can't build it. Just something that's not being built. So that's what we're going to break down in this next particular segment. When you have a funnel, every single episode you drop becomes a lead generation asset. And we're not talking about just for today, but for the next 12 months, the next 24 months, forever, how long you are podcasting. That episode you recorded like last Tuesday is still out there working for you while you sleep. And even if you haven't recorded, you got your first 5 episodes ready to go, record them. Quit trying to be perfect. Everybody wants to be perfect. Don't do it. Put it out and let that thing work for you while you're sleeping. So now let's talk about the anatomy of a high converting podcast funnel. Now, I know you've heard the word funnel thrown around a lot, but most podcast coaches stop at put the link in my bio. That's not a funnel. That's that hope strategy. That's the old way. All right. See, a real podcast funnel needs to be shown to you. So I'm going to go ahead and show you and break it down to you what a podcast funnel looks like. Now, listen to me very carefully because we're going to break this down. So, you got this homeboy named Marcus. He's a business consultant. So, smart guy, brilliant, puts out great content. His podcast episode was legitimately some of the best industry insights I've ever heard. Like, dudes putting out content, and I'm just listening like, let me do what I tell people to do. I'm gonna grab a pen. I'm gonna listen to this. And he had been podcasting for a while, right? But when he came to me, he had 0 clients. And I'm like, bruh, I just sit here and listen to your podcast and you have no clients, not a one. So I sat down, I looked over it, I listened to another episode, then I listened to another episode. Then I got him on a Zoom call. We spent the next 2 hours mapping out a funnel together. Or should I say we spent the next 2 hours building one from scratch because he never had one. Now, after we built it, after I walked him through it, within 6 weeks of implementing this, Marcus had 4 discovery calls. Most of y'all call them discovery calls. I call them triage calls because I'm trying to feel you out. All right, 4, 6 weeks versus none in 18 months. And all 4 of them converted. That funnel didn't change his content. It changed what happened after the content. I told you I'm going to give you the anatomy. Let's break it down. There's 5 layers to this. All right. We can't tell you something and not give it to you. So layer number 1 is the episode. And this is the attention asset. This is the top of the funnel. Every episode you release is designed to attract one specific type of person. Not everyone, not your general audience. One avatar, one problem, one promise per episode. Then you have layer number 2. That's the lead magnet. This is the conversion bridge. All right. Every episode should point to one free resource, not your homepage, not your Instagram, a specific lead magnet that, listen to me, directly connected to the topic of your episode. This could be your checklist. This could be a framework, a PDF, a mini training, a template, something so targeted that the listeners feels like, read my brain, or man, Miss Ma'am is really in my head right now. So then you got layer number 3, and that's the email sequence. This is where they get nurtured at. Once they download the lead magnet, they're entered into an automated email sequence. 3 to 5 emails. Each one builds trust. Each one delivers value. Each one moves them closer to your offer. And this is where the relationship starts to get real because now we're moving to layer number 4, which is the offer. This is that revenue moment. At the end of the nurture sequence, you present your offer, your coaching program, your service, your course, not a pitch. You just present it, a natural next step. Because at this point, they've consumed your content. They've gotten the free resource. They've read your emails. They already trust you. And then we get to layer number 5, and this is the conversion event. This is where you close them out. Your triage call, discovery call, whatever you want to call it. The application, the sales page visit. This is where conversion becomes currency. This is where conversation becomes the mechanism to currency. All right, so my tagline is we turn conversations to currency. Conversions lead to currency, but those conversations that you're having lead to generally more currency. All right, now that's the 5 layers. That's it. You have to understand that funnel right there is $1 million meal ticket for anybody who wants to be in the podcast game. Now, I tell you what, we'll put together a visual map for you. We'll drop it inside the Podcasters Academy. And, oh, by the way, it's called the Client Generating Podcast Blueprint. You download it, you can print it. It's interactive. You can do whatever you want. But it's everything I just talked about, and it's everything that you needed to hear about, and we mapped out step by step. So now that you understand that, Now, knowing the anatomy is one thing, but the real money is how you engineer each episode to move people through the funnel without feeling like a used car salesman. So in the next pillar, pillar number 3, and this is where a lot of people just say, forget it, and they quit, but they completely miss it. When your funnel is built, each layer compounds, your email list grows, every single episode, your nurture sequence is working while you're recording. Can you imagine you sitting here recording an episode that you dropped last week and you got multiple screens like I do? So you have a screen up right here. You can see emails coming in. You have another screen up right here that you watch it and make sure you know your podcast is still jumping off. You have another screen to where you can see if you live, okay? Can you imagine sitting there while you record and you look up and your Stripe account starts to go off, bing, 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 bing. That's the podcast business. That's not the podcast show. All right. So just understand that this is what you work for. So here's pillar number 3, how to engineer every episode for a conversion. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth about most podcast episodes, that they are built to inform, but not to convert. And there is a major difference. And here's the big one. Informing someone makes them smarter. Converting someone changes their behavior. All right. Now, you don't get paid for making people smarter. Professors might, but they still don't get paid much. You get paid in your profession, your niche, for changing what they do next. Now, remember, I told you before, I had Marcus. I remember jumping on a group call one time, and I'm in this group, and there's this health coach named Denise. She's speaking. Very intelligent lady, lived down in South Dakota, I think. Now, this group call was for, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say we was on the 2 Comma Club training that Russell Brunson had held. It was virtual. And here we are. Denise had a podcast, and she had some great content. Her episodes was long, detailed, packed with value. She done the deep dives on nutrition, on mindset, on metabolism. And she had it all. She had the real substance. But every episode ended the same way. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week. And that was it. No lead magnet, no community mention, no invitation, no bridge, just goodbye. Now, in these group calls, they had these chat rooms. So I jumped in. We was in the chat room. This is how we got to talking. And the person said, I see we got some podcasters in here. Can you drop your links and let people check out your show? Now, the whole time we in this podcast room, the goal is we're trying to get 2 commas because we're teaching the marketing aspect. And I had already been through this once before. And so the person who was in this room, the moderator, I think his name was Tom. I'm not for sure. So anyway, Tom, and we'll just call him Tom. Tom said, Tony, when you in here about 2 months ago? It's like, yeah. I said, I like the training. There's some things that I might have missed. I just wanted to come back and get some. So in the comments, in the comment section, Denise asked about the funnel. And so while she's talking to Tom, I done popped in my headphone. I'm listening to her episode. And I'm skimming through it. I put it on a little fast motion. It was on YouTube at the time. Excuse me. And the next thing you know, when I came back, I said, I got the answer. Tom said, well, what's going on? I said, she's not leading us nowhere. But I guess she thought that I was being an asshole. And you could tell that she kind of got offended. I said, no, listen to what I'm saying, Miss Denise. Your content is dope. Like, you're talking about stuff I never thought about. And granted, I still was checking it out because, look, I was overweight. But what he was trying to basically ask me was, what did I mean by she's not leading us nowhere? I said at the end of the podcast, it's thank you and goodbye. There's no offer. You're offering, there's nothing free to draw me in, is what I meant to say. And that's the problem. I said, what do you want your listeners to do after every episode? She paused. She had to think about it. And then she came back to me. She was like, well, of course I want them to join my program. I said, but you're not telling them that. I said, that's the problem. That's what I meant by you're not leading us nowhere. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Tony. Hey, listen, in our space, people are going to say things and you're going to take them and mistakenly think that they're being buttholes. I'm not. But this is what I learned from Tom in the last training. If you're not leading them nowhere, they're not going to follow. See, most podcasters are focused on creating good content that they never designed for a specific outcome. Every episode needs to be intentional. Every episode needs to have an action that has them moving towards something. When Tom and I were sitting there chopping it up and Denise was listening to us, because Tom said, hey, man, when we get off of here, man, we need to talk. He said, because you popped that up quick. I said, man, I just was listening to her episode while he was talking to her. I just skimmed through it. I listened to the beginning. Curiosity Hook had me linked in, man. I said, then when I got to the middle of it, it was so much content. She broke down the what you need to eat with your micros and your macros and all of this and all of that, your portions. If you weigh this amount, you eat this much, you protein in your body. But when we got to the end, it was nothing. So he said, okay. So she's listening to this whole conversation. So we built it out. 30 days later, boy, I'm telling you, 6 more clients. And those 6 clients literally jumped into her high ticket training. And so Tom, you know, when you meet people and you rub people the right way, they become assets to you. So Tom emails me and says, hey man, Denise showing out right now. I said, oh man, that's dope, bruh. I was like, you know, I tweaked my funnel, right? And he started laughing. He said, I was talking to Dan, which is another guy that was in one of the other breakout rooms. That's what they call breakout rooms. He said, I was talking to Dan. I told him, I said, man, Tony was in here. He was like, the podcaster from Louisville? Man, he funny. He said, man, he was in the breakout room Friday night, and he had listened to somebody's podcast. He said he did the same thing in mine. And I started laughing. I said, y'all don't get it, man. I've watched Russell do a ton of things, and Russell is never sitting still on just one. I've watched Eric Thomas do the same thing. I've watched David Sands. David Sands will hit you with the hot seat and then turn around and have you come to the wake up in the morning, good morning, his group call on a Saturday. But he's promoting it. He's listening. He's checking it. Hey, man, you got to think, how can you engineer an episode for conversion? There's 3 components to that. But in order for me to help out, I had to understand I got to see what's at the end. I always reverse pivot. I reverse engineer a lot of things when it comes to, first of all, let me say this. I'm dyslexic. So I learn different. Yes, I have an associate's degree in information technology, which of course is computer science, applied science rather. Computer science was the next one. But I'm certified as a Microsoft systems engineer, and I'm A+ certified. Meaning I can build the hell out of a computer. It just takes too much time. This comes simple to me. Now, the three components that we talk about is, number one, you got to have a specific promise. And I know you like, how did he go from here to there? Because everything I talk about leads back to what we're going to discuss. Because if you're engineering your episode for conversion, and I reverse engineer mine for conversion, it leads right back to this. The specific promise, your episode title and opening hook must make a specific result-oriented promise, not tips for growing your podcast. Try 3 things your episode must have to turn your listeners into book calls. Specific signals that you can have. And those specific signals turn into earned attention. And when that earned attention comes, now you got them hooked. And then the next component is you got to have an embedded bridge. Now, this is somewhere in the middle of the episode, not the end, the middle. You plant your bridge, man, I'm telling you, the thing's going to grow. This is where you naturally mention the lead magnet, the community, the free resource. Not a hard sell. Just naturally talk about it. And if you want the template I'm referring to right now, I got a link in the show notes. That's it. Low fiction, high relevance. And then it takes you to component number 3, the intentional close, man. Your episode close is not a throwaway. It's a design moment, man. You have to recap the transformation that the listener just experienced. You name it, and then the next logical step they should take, you give them a clear, specific call to action, not a like or subscribe, not follow me on Instagram, a real invitation to the real next step. Those 3 components right there, specific promise, embedded bridge, and intentional close, turn every episode into a funnel touch point. Just like now. I want to invite you right now. Come on over to the Podcasters Academy. It's my free school community. We teach this. We go live. We talk about this. We have trainers. We have tiplets. We have the whole community of podcasters. I just built it out. We're going to build real businesses inside this community. It's free. All right. It's just like being in a Facebook group, but with more perks. So come on over and join us. And once you join us, you will see exactly how to turn everything that you want to do into an asset. But here's what all comes together. The CTA structure. Because you can have the best funnel in the world, you're still killing it, but you're killing your conversions with the bad ass. It's just not working. So you got to be able to convert. All right. And we're talking about right now. So think about this. Let me drop this mic on you real quick. Every episode you publish without a design conversion path, every single episode is a missed business opportunity you can never get back. Your listeners tuned in, they give you their time, they're ready to go deeper, and guess what? It's not there. It's not there at all. All right? You want to be there. All right? You don't have a second chance at that moment. Build your path. You got to build out the path, man. So this is what we talk about, pillar number 4. The 1 CTA structure that creates momentum without feeling salesy. See, a lot of podcasters skip this call to action entirely because they don't want to sound pushy. I get it. Nobody wants to be that person that turns every episode into a pitch. But here's what I need you to understand. Not having a CTA isn't humble. It's leaving you with money left on the table and your listeners stranded. Think about it. They just spent 30 minutes with you. 30 simple minutes. 30. They trust you. They're fired up. They want to do something. You're the person that's supposed to be driving the bus. And yet, you just ended the episode. That's not being generous. That's being irresponsible. You took up their time. And it's hard to get that time back. So understand this. I grew up in West Side of Louisville. Now, hustling was normal. Every neighborhood had crews that was out there hustling. You either figured out how to sell whatever you were selling or you stayed broke. There was no third option for us. There was no third option. Growing up, man, listen, we wasn't trying to. My first job, I made $3.35 an hour. What's that tell you? There was no third option. But when I got into entrepreneurship, I had to unlearn the idea that selling was something that was making me ashamed of where I grew up. See, I watched people get taken advantage of by slick salespeople. And most of them are car salesmen. So I overcorrected. I became the anti-salesperson, the guy who would almost apologize for having the offer. But one of my mentors, I was listening to Russell Brunson. He hit me with this one, and it flipped everything. He said, if you are out here selling, or if what you're selling actually helps somebody, then not offering it to them is a real disservice. I looked, I was like, Jesus Christ, he's in my head. So now I close every episode with confidence, not ignorance, confidence, because I know what I have works. I know this. And if you got a real offer that creates real transformation, you owe it to your listeners to tell them how they can get it. Plain and simple, man. So here's the CTA structure I use every episode, and I call it task framework. You ready? T's the transformation. Briefly recap what the listeners just learned and what it means for their business. Example, you know how to build a 5-layer podcast funnel that turns every episode into a lead generation machine? See how I did that? A is acknowledged, and you want to acknowledge where they are. Meet them exactly where they stand. If you're still building, if you're still figuring it out, that's okay. That's exactly who this is for. So that was the example. We want to talk about the S. State the specific next step. All right, one clear, low-function action. Example for that is, man, your next step is to download the client-generating podcast blueprint from the show notes. It's free, all right? And guess what? It maps out everything we just talked about in today's episode. And then there's K. Keep the door open. Let them know what's on the other side that they ready for. When they ready for it, they can come on over. They always say the grass is not green on the other side. But if you got something that could help them and be prosperous, the grass is greater on the other side. You feel me? All right, so here's what you need to understand. Here's the example. And when you're ready to go all in, the podcast accelerator is waiting for you for $47.99. $47. I just added the 99 cents. Just wanted to sound good. Then if you're serious about building out your full client generating system, the Podcast Profit Engine has room for you. Everything linked below. That's the task. That's how you close out without cringing. So come join the Podcasters Academy. We have a live CTA workshop that we're going to talk about inside the community. We're going to walk through how to write your unique episode close using task framework for specific offers. It's free. You know where the link is. It's in the show notes. Now that's the funnel anatomy. All right. And you should be putting that in every single episode close. Not just, hey, thanks for stopping by. See you tomorrow. See you next week. That framework alone is probably a 6-figure framework added to what you need to do. All right. Now, pillar number 5, how do you build your entire funnel system starting today? Here's the part most people they just keep going. They get excited, close the podcast out, go back to doing what they were doing. They forget about it. I don't want you to do that. because everything we just talked about today is biblical. Right now, it's there, not someday when you have more time or more money or more followers. Today. See, when I first started and I started building podcasts for profits, I built it from scratch. Simple. I ain't have a team. I still don't have a team. I'm a one-man operation. I didn't have a big budget. I had a laptop. I had a cheap Amazon mic, and I didn't know nothing about a funnel until recently when I got with Go High Level and started building a clearer vision. I built my first podcast funnel in one Saturday afternoon, but then it got even better because AI came into the picture, and I started building podcast funnels in hours. My lead magnet was a PDF. I'm working on a different lead magnet that I hope will blow people out of the water. Matter of fact, I know it's going to blow people out of the water. I got a ton of lead magnets I'm getting ready to work on, man, and you just won't believe it. You feel me? So my landing page took me about 2 hours. Episode CTA was one paragraph, and I added everything into it for future recordings. That's it. I was done. Within 2 weeks, I had 47 leads from one episode, real people who raised their hand and said, I want more of this. 3 of them became triage calls for me. 2 became clients. One Saturday afternoon, that's all it took. You don't need to build a perfect system. You just need to put it out there and build it. And then you can tweak it when you find out. That's how successful people got started. Let me tell you one successful person that started this way. Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos took and built Amazon out of his garage. Enough said. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless and good night. I'm telling you. So here's your 24-hour funnel build plan. 5 moves, 1 day. Pick a lead magnet. Take you 30 minutes to design it. Choose one episode from your podcast. What's the single most valuable takeaway from that episode? Turn it into a 1-page resource, a click checklist, a framework, template. Go to Canva. It's free. It's about 1 hour to get done. Build you a landing page, whether it's ClickFunnels. I prefer Go High Level, but build you a simple landing page. Then page, headline that names the outcome, 3 bullet points, 1 form. That's it. No overthinking. Write you a welcome sequence, has 3 emails. Email 1, deliver the lead magnet and tell them who you are. Email 2, share your story that builds trust. And email 3, introduce your offer naturally. Load this all into Go High Level or whatever email provider you use. Send it out. Record your episode, record your CTA 15 minutes, write you a 60-second close using the task framework, and that points you or to your new lead magnet. Update it on the next episode. You just need to keep adding it and put it in and mix it up. And when I say mix it up, here's what you're doing. Your next 4 to 5 episodes need to be focused on that lead magnet. That's it. The link will be in the show notes. Join the community. Share your funnel. Come to the Podcasters Academy. Lead magnet will be inside the Podcasters Academy, right? Links in the show notes below. Let us review it. Let us support you. Accountability alone will keep you from sitting on this forever and ever, right? 5 moves, 1 day, real podcast funnel that starts working for you immediately. Now, I'll say it one more time. Podcasters Academy is free. It's my school community. It's where I teach everything you need to know how to build a podcast business, templates, trainings, live sessions, and the community will be for real. Like, we got to get people in there. So I just built it. No time to sit around and talk about it. Let's get it done. All right. We rocking out. Let's get it done. Okay, cool. The link will be in the show notes, man. Join the community. Have a good time in our now. You got 6 months from now. You could be looking back at the episode as a turning point. The day you stop posting and hoping and start building something that actually converts, that's not a pitch. That's what happens when you apply what you just learned. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what we want to do. All right, now, time to set this bad boy off cruise control, off autopilot, and land this bad boy. Today, we covered a lot. Here's what I need you to take action on. Your podcast is already valuable. You've already done the work. You've already built out your audience. What's been missing is the system that converts. Simple, man. It's plain and simple. And your audience is the clients that you need to get. All right? That's what a podcast funnel does. And now you know exactly how to build one. So if you want to go deeper, here's what you need to do. In the show notes is going to be a link. First, you download the checklist. Then you grab the podcast generating blueprint. All right? Of course, everything's free. You get that. Get inside the community. You start learning. And then when you're ready to move on, we talk about the podcast accelerator. All right. That's an A to Z system, man. Coaches use this. Over 20,000 coaches use the exact same system every single day for their podcasts. And then once you start to get real serious and you want to take it to another level, the profit engine, the podcast engine is there. All right. So we need to transform what we talked about today and make it real. But that transformation requires action. Take the next step. You got them up there. All right. You got them. So that's a wrap for this episode today, man. Join the community. Get those freebies and do what you got to do. All right. I'm pulling for you, man. Somebody needed to hear this, and I needed to say that. I'm pulling for you. My competition is not you in the podcast space. My competition is me. I'm my own worst critic. So do me a favor. If you like this, you got some value, leave me 5 stars, please. 2 sentences, all it takes, 60 seconds. It helps me reach more people. And the more people we reach that find this show, the better off we can be. You feel me? Downloads don't pay the bills, clients do. Your podcast is not a hobby. It's a business developing machine. And now you have the blueprint to prove it. We turn conversations into currency. Now go turn yours into one. I'll see y'all in the next episode. I holla.
Thanks for tuning in to Podcast for Profit. If you got value today, share this episode with a creator who's ready to level up. And make sure you hit follow so you never miss the moves we're making. If you're serious about turning your podcast into a business, tap the link in the show notes to join the Solo Empire Network and get the tools,